Getting nutrition right in the first 12 months of your off the track being with you will set them up for being healthy and content, and allow them to thrive in their new career with you. Keeping their nutrition right into the future makes sure that you can keep them this way. It is hard to give very specific feeding advice at this point because you may be poking quietly along riding trails together, or you may be aiming for the highest level of any number of athletic disciplines. What and how much you feed will depend a lot on what you and your off the track are doing together. But there are 4 feeding rules that I always want you to follow, regardless of what your off the track's new career is, to keep them their healthiest, happiest, and most successful selves. Rule number 1, feed hay before you ride. At the risk of sounding like the guy in the sunscreen song, if I could only offer you one piece of advice for the future, this would be it. Let me show you why feeding hay before you ride is so important. Remember that we learnt that horses secrete gastric acid into their stomach 24 hours a day? Well, imagine this is your horse's stomach, with the top section unprotected from the acid, the lower section that does have protection from the acid. If your horse has a pool of that acid sitting at the bottom of its stomach when you go for a ride, guess what? As your horse starts to move, that acid splashes to the top of the stomach. And that causes 2 problems. It will cause squamous gastric ulcers. These are the ulcers that occur in the top part of the stomach. And your horse will feel pain or discomfort while you ride. And that, at best, will make it difficult for your off the track to concentrate on what you are asking them to do. At worst, it will make your off the track want to buck you off because being ridden hurts. So to make being ridden a safe and enjoyable experience for both of you, feed hay before you ride. That way, the hay creates a physical barrier and stops the acid from splashing to the top of the stomach. And the saliva you're off the track produced and swallowed while chewing the hay makes the fluid in the bottom of the stomach less acidic and less likely to burn holes in the top of the stomach should any of it still splash up there. Remember to do this when you're out competing too. In fact, whenever your horse is just standing around waiting, whether it be for their next class at a show or waiting for the farrier, give them hay. The more you can keep them chewing, the happier and healthier they will be. Lucerne hay is best. Lucerne itself is also a buffer, so like saliva, it will make the fluid in the stomach less acidic. So if you can, use lucerne hay. But if you don't have access to lucerne hay, or if you're not feeding it for any reason, then any hay will do. Remember too that hay is better than chaff because hay makes your horse chew more, and in chewing more they create more saliva. So you get maximum dilution of the acid in the stomach. How much hay you should feed depends on when your horse last had access to pasture or hay. We've put this handy little guide into the ebook for you to give you some help with how much to feed. A lot of people ask me if they still need to feed hay if their horse has been on pasture right up to when they're being ridden. The easiest way for me to answer this is just to say, I do. My horses always come off pasture to be ridden, and I always give them lucerne hay to munch on while we are saddling up. The hay keeps them happy, it keeps me happy, and I know that their stomach is going to be comfortable while we're riding so that we can both enjoy our time together. Forage is your horse's life. They need it for their physical and mental health. The more you can base your horse's diet on forage, the more physically and mentally healthy they will be. We have covered this a bit already in the first two videos, but let's recap why high forage diets are so important. Remember the trillions of microbes in your horse's hindgut? They do all sorts of important jobs for your off the track, like digest fibre and give your off the track the energy the fibre contains so that they can maintain their body weight and do the work that you ask of them. Produce hormones and communicate via the gut-brain axis to create calm behaviour. Produce vitamins to help muscles generate the energy that fuels work. Produce biotin to keep the hooves healthy. Outcompete pathogenic bacteria to stop them from causing disease. Keep your horse's immune system healthy. Keep your off-the-tracks gut healthy to stop it from leaking toxins, pathogens and bacteria into the body. All that to say, these hindgut microbes are just a little bit important. If you don't feed enough forage, then the population of good microbes will dwindle. And there won't be enough of them to help your horse with all of this important stuff that they do. Which is why you need to stay laser focused on making sure that your off the tracks diet stays forage based. Because that is what will keep their hindgut microbe populations strong and healthy. Which is ultimately what is going to keep your off the track healthy and happy. And for bonus points and an even healthier horse, feed a big variety of forage. Create pastures that contain multiple plant species and feed as many different types of hay as you can find, using grasses as well as legumes like clover and lucerne. And you can add in the alternate fibres that you have as a list in the ebook from video 1. The variety in forage creates fibre variety, and that creates a greater diversity of microbes living in your horse's gut. And that is an extra healthy place for your horse to be. How much forage should you feed? Well, if you are fortunate and have pasture for your off the track, then letting them graze 24/7 is ideal. If you're feeding hay, here are some guidelines. If you read the literature, you will find that the minimum forage amount recommended for horses is 1.5% of their body weight per day, which for an average size off the track of 500 kilograms is 7.5 kilograms of forage. My preference is that you feed 2 to 2.5% of your off the tracks body weight in forage per day, which for the same size horse is 10 to 12.5 kilograms. If your horse isn't a total guts, then the best scenario is to have forage available all of the time. Feeding lots of forage also reduces the risk of gastric ulcers because it keeps that stomach full of fibre and saliva. Forage reduces the risk of colic by keeping the hindgut full and in the right place. And high forage diets keep you off the track chewing and in that oh so calming head down position for longer periods of the day. And that is wonderful for their mental health. A chewing horse is usually a happy horse. And don't forget, of course, that forage provides a stack of nutrients. In fact, when done well, a forage diet is capable of providing most, if not all, of the energy and protein that your horse needs. Plus, good quality forages are rich in vitamins and some minerals. So it makes a huge contribution toward meeting your horse's daily nutrient requirements. It is, however, important to remember that a forage-only diet is not enough. What, you say? You just spent the last 5 minutes telling us to feed forage, 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 and now you're telling us that forage is not enough? Exactly. And that creates a beautiful segue into our next long-term feeding rule, which is feed a balanced diet. What I mean by a balanced diet is a diet that provides all of your horse's nutrient needs on a daily basis. Those nutrients include the energy or calories, protein, vitamins, and minerals that your off the track needs to stay healthy and to do the work that you are asking of them. As I just mentioned, a forage diet is capable of meeting a vast amount of your off the track's daily nutrient needs. But forage by itself is not enough. Forages in Australia are typically very low in the minerals copper, zinc, selenium, and iodine. And they can have variable and sometimes low levels of other minerals like calcium and phosphorus. And hay, if it's been stored a while, will lose a lot of its vitamin content. So for horses who are holding their weight and their muscle on a forage-only diet, all you need to do is add a balancer pellet or a vitamin and mineral supplement to top up the nutrients that are typically missing from Australian forages. And I like to add a little bit of flaxseed oil to keep their coats shiny and healthy. For horses who do need a little bit more than forage to maintain their weight and their muscle, you can create a balanced diet using a complete feed, fed at the intended rate for your off the track according to their body weight and their workload. Or you could use a vitamin mineral supplement or balancer pellet and add your own higher energy, higher protein ingredients. Some of my favourites for this purpose are lupins, sugar beet pulp, full fat soybean, copra meal, oils with a preference for flaxseed oil, rice bran, extruded barley, or oats. There are some example diets in the ebook, or you can go online and use one of the free or paid online nutrition calculators to design a balanced diet for your off the track. Introducing some of these higher energy ingredients into your off the tracks diet can create an interesting challenge for you. Based around that little oddity in horses that we talked about in video 2, where the level of energy in their diet is usually reflected in their behaviour. Feed too much energy and you may end up with an off the track that has too much energy. So our rule number 4 is match diet energy to workload. As a horse owner, you will have been told or heard at some point that we should only make changes to our horses' diets slowly. But that isn't exactly true. Yes, if you're introducing a new feed ingredient, then definitely do it slowly. But what I want you to do is change your horse's diet regularly, daily, if you have to, in order to control their energy intake. And by controlling their energy intake, you can control their behaviour. Here's what I mean. Let's say you're able to ride your horse 4 days a week and ride for up to an hour on each of those days. Because of work commitments, you can't ride Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday. But from Thursday through Sunday, you ride daily. You feed your horse a forage-based diet because you've watched these videos and you understand how important that is. And you also feed your horse 2 kilograms per day of a complete feed to balance the diet. But you notice on Thursdays and Fridays, after their 3 days off, your off the track is always a little bit more on edge, a bit too forward and overly responsive to your aids. Sometimes they feel like a rubber band that's all wound up and ready to go ping. After the first 2 days of riding, they start to settle again, and you can enjoy your Saturday ride, and your Sunday ride is always perfect. And then the cycle starts over. Does this sound familiar? What is happening here is that by feeding this horse the same amount of feed every day, regardless of the fact that they aren't ridden 3 of the 7 days in a week, they are building up a supply of excess energy on their days off. And that energy comes out in their behaviour in the first couple of days back under saddle. What if you did this instead? On Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, feed a lower energy diet that matches the lower energy that they need on these days that they aren't ridden. By reducing your complete feed or swapping it for a balancer pellet that contains similar ingredients. And then on Thursday through Sunday, you feed according to how much work they do and also how they feel. Adjusting the complete feed up if they felt great and were really well behaved, or down if they were still too far on their toes. I like to have rest day as well as light, moderate and heavy work day diets that are all balanced. That way I can switch between these diets depending on when my horses are ridden and how they feel and behave while I'm riding them. And if behaviour is an issue for your off the track, don't be afraid to let them feel a little bit tired before you give them extra feed. If your riding schedule is anything like mine, it won't be predictable like this. It might be anyone's guess which days you ride and how much work you do on those days. If that is the case for you, then just adjust what you feed daily, according to when you ride and how your horse feels. The most important thing is to maintain their forage intake, but reduce their higher energy feeds on their days off, so that when you do get back to riding, you don't have an off the track that is full of unused energy that is just ready to go ping. We have covered a lot, so to remind you of the really important bits, remember, feed hay before you ride, with lucerne hay being the best choice. Keep your horse's diet forage-based, with the ideal situation being 24/7 access to pasture or hay or both. Keep your diet balanced by using complete feeds or balancer pellets or a vitamin and mineral supplement. And adjust your horse's diet regularly, daily if you have to control dietary energy so you can keep control of behaviour. By following these 4 feeding rules, you will have a healthy, happy, calm and yet still responsive horse that you can thoroughly enjoy your time with. That brings us to the end of this video series, but there is still a heap of help at hand. Be sure to download the ebook that goes along with these videos because it will give you an easy to read recap on all of the information we have covered. And it gives you diets to follow as a starting point for your horse that use products from companies that partner with Queensland Off the Track. We will also be running regular and live Q&A sessions where you can come and ask me specific questions about your specific off the track. Keep an eye on your emails and the Queensland Off the Track Facebook page for when these will be running. And if you want more in-depth feeding and nutrition information than what we've covered here, I'd love you to complete my online course, Feeding Better, Safer, Smarter, which is available to you at a discounted rate as a Queensland Off the Track Clubhouse member. If you can put into practice the feeding strategies shared here, I know that you and your off the track will have the foundation to build a beautiful relationship and enjoy your time together in whatever way you intend to spend it. It has honestly been a joy for me to create these videos, and it makes me happy knowing that you now know the best way to feed your off the track, to keep them healthy, happy and performing at their best. Have fun, stay safe, and I hope we can meet at a Q&A session soon.